Hey Gus, let's discuss The Fall. This movie is a Scott Mann survival thriller movie where two women climb a 2,000 foot or 610-meter radio tower and they get stuck, stranded at the top of it. And I'm very likely to recommend this movie. The opening scenes made me feel like this was a straight to DVD type movie. This movie had its flaws. It stumbled out of the gate. It didn't fall, thankfully, but it stumbled out of the gate. The editing was wonky. The storyline, the romance storyline, was. I was like, this is like any other movie. I kind of really hope it doesn't continue with this storyline. But thankfully, it picked up from there when the actual story begins. There was some I had some problems with like the props they chose to close up on. Like the props themselves were okay, but closing in on them probably didn't help. And some decision in the middle of the movie I felt could have been handled differently. But other than that, the logic checks out to me. I really enjoyed the twist they did in this movie and the logic being explored. It was a fun time to me. It's cinematically beautiful. Just ignore some points and you'll probably have a good time too. Alright, Gus, let's discuss Breaking. So in 2017, a tragic situation happened where an ex Marine was trying to bring awareness to how mistreated military veterans are. And honestly, the term powerful gets tossed around a lot, especially for artistical films, but this film really was powerful. What I love most about it and what other studios should take notes on are how it took such a heavy, tragic incident and retold it where every side is explored and it doesn't feel heavy as a viewer. And the editing, the transitions, the way the shot was framed, these people deserve an award for that. Like that was so smooth. And on top of that, the acting wasn't over the top. It was very subtle. My only three gripes were one of the police officers was so stereotypical, the intensity should have been upped a little bit, and the sniper's intentions maybe could have been made a bit more clearer to understand the full scope of everything. But all in all, I'm very likely to recommend this movie. You should check it out when you get the time. Alright, Gus, let's discuss Operation Fortune. So in this action comedy movie, lead spy Orson Fortune must track and stop the sale of a new deadly weapons technology by reluctantly teaming up with a new group of people. And I'm very likely to recommend this movie. This movie is everything you want in a fun movie. It's not just a claim they're making. It has a lot of witty zingers, it's speedy dialogue, it's beautifully shot, action is choreographed great. It was so entertaining to me that I was able to look past the interestingly low populated areas they were fighting in. Compared to the Fast series and other fun movies, this doesn't give you a lot that you have to look past in terms of realism. So to me, this is a good time. Alright, Gus, let's discuss fatherhood. Fatherhood follows the journey of a man who's suddenly widowed after his wife passes soon after giving birth to their child. And I'm very likely to recommend it. The things I love most about this movie is how relaxed it is in tone and how smooth it is in pacing. It's easy to follow, the story isn't overcomplicated, and the acting is really great. It's really touching with the right amount of comedy sprinkled in that doesn't steal from the heart of the matter. So if you're gonna give this movie a chance, maybe have some tissues by you. Alright, Gus, let's discuss The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So this movie follows a couple that's going through a painful breakup and have their memories of each other literally erased. Not gonna lie, this movie is very trippy. Like I'm still processing it after watching it. This movie left me feeling a roller coaster of emotion or a glass case of emotion. This movie left me feeling confused and yet satisfied, like weirded out, but in a good way. I don't know how to describe this feeling I have after watching this movie. The logic they use to do the mind racing is very logical and something we'd probably do if it were made today. And the editing for 2004 was way ahead of its time. It has a star-studded cast. Michael Gondry directed this, but it feels like the brainchild of Tim Burton and M. Night Shyamalan. And I love the philosophy they explore in this movie, especially during the end. It's kind of like the movie The Agency, the philosophy of all of that, but more psychological. So, last note I have before I give my verdict on this one is that I forgot how often toxic relationships were shown back in the 2000s. Like always bickering, one of the spouses throwing clothes at the other spouse, and it being like normal. I forgot how often they showed that like back in the day. But I'm very likely to recommend this. Alright, Gus, let's discuss Everything Everywhere All at Once. This movie is like a perfect blend of the movie Matrix and the TV show Chuck, in the sense that in the Matrix, there's a lot of commentary and questioning about our reality and our perception of it. And like with Chuck, it's about learning new skills, adapting to that new reality that comes with learning those new skills, and using it to protect yourself and your loved ones. I do a deeper dive into the commentary and themes, or at least touch on it more. So I'm going to put it somewhere here, maybe in the description on the screen. Check it out, see what you think. Let me know what you think. All right, Gus, let's discuss Ready or Not. This is a dark comedy horror movie that follows a newlywed who is hunted by her spouse's wealthy, devil worshipping family as part of some messed up wedding ritual. And this hits it out of the park. This is a home run. It delivers on everything. It delivers on the comedy, obviously the horror part. So I'm all about story, right? And they did a great job of logically breaking down why, with all today's technology, they wouldn't be able to capture her, easily at least. So the acting is great. The only problem I had with this movie was the camera movement in the first 15 minutes. But outside of that, it was a really great thought out movie. If you couldn't tell from the high praise I was giving it earlier, I'm very likely to recommend this if you're okay with a gory horror movie. This is like every black parent's worst fear. It's apocalyptic psychological horror film. First things first, this girl, Kristen, might have been the best actor in this entire film. It's really rare you find a great child actor, and she's one of them. This movie does a great job of painting the picture of confusion, of this random event happening. You really feel the... Hey Gus, let's discuss John Wick Chapter 4. Yo, now we finally get to see the aftermath of John's fallout with the high table. All the high drama, betrayals, delusions, trickery. What's gonna happen, we finally see. All I can say is, alright Gus, let's discuss We Have a Ghost. So this is a film adaptation of Jeff Manel's Ernest, and I'm very likely to recommend this movie. I'm going to try not to spoil this. If you want a more spoiler discussion, it'll be at the end of this video or in the description. But a big takeaway from this movie was the world building. Not only are the characters relatable and realistic, so is the world. All the progression from the beginning of the story to the end of the story makes sense for how the story would play out if it were to happen in real life today. And this movie not only does that well, it's also funny. The director does a great job of using multiple genres in this family flick. The running time goes long, but because of the director using multiple genres, it keeps it fresh and worth the time. And the CGI is great, the acting is great. One of my favorite movies now. Alright guys, let's discuss Bumblebee. Personally, after the first two Transformer movies, I tapped out, but the Bumblebee buzz was too hot to not pick up. The story isn't anything new or special, and maybe that's exactly what Transformer needed. It kept the world small, and it did a great job building up both characters before bringing them together. The execution overall was great. The motivation of the characters, although simple because it's a family movie, made sense. It didn't treat the audience like we were dumb. There were moments where I questioned the characters' decisions, but after it was laid out a little bit later, I was like, that's smart. There was actual effort in this story. They didn't rely on 1980s nostalgia as most movies do now. even with music selections. The music selection at the beginning kind of worried me, but thankfully it picked up at the end. Love how you could see the fighting, the technique, it made them seem capable. Great little twist on callbacks and payoffs. So overall, very likely to recommend this movie. All right, Gus, let's discuss Bullet Train. So I'm very likely to recommend this movie. I loved this movie. This is what Suicide Squad could have been like, but point for another time. Props to Kutaro and Zach for writing this movie. The writing is great. The visuals are colorful. This is a wildly entertaining movie, guys. I love the humor and the action. I just love everything about this movie. The main drawbacks for me were the lack of Asian representation as well as the CGI blood because it wasn't good. I love how the story intertwined and they all impacted each other while pushing the story forward. So if you're looking for a fun time, check out Bullet Train.